Welcome to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. Now, here's your host, the Image Master, Holly Porter.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited we get to do part 2 of our show today.
Life podcast,
and I've got, again, my guest, Rhonda Cimorelli, who is going to be helping me out, and
feel
we
prosperous,
have
and be prosperous.
packed ideas
you can
that
learn
are
more
going to help
about
you
them at
de-stress and enjoy your holidays
theimagedesigners.com
much
or
more.
email Holly at hollyporter.com.
Hey, Holly, how are you today?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm excited to do this again. It was so much fun last time.
Me too. I'm sorry. Every time I think about us working together, I just always laugh because it's a great partnership here. So you have a great energy. And, I'm thinking maybe we could just do, what do you think? Could we share our favorite tip from last week?
Mine's the self-care, because I think that's what most women are lacking.
Yeah. I agree. Self-care, take care of yourself. And for me, it's kind of being realistic, because my plans ended up changing and it's not what I originally thought was going to happen. And I guess that kind of goes along with be flexible, right?
Be flexible. Yeah.
That's something we talked about. So this week, how about, I would love for you to start us off with some of the great tips that we have for our listeners this week.
Yeah, so we want to talk first of all about healthy habits that you're already doing. So, and that could mean physical habits like exercising, mental habits, things that you're doing self-care wise. Like, don't abandon those during the holidays thinking, oh, I'll just move on, and the first year I'll have my new goals and blah, 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 like we always do. Like, stick to what you already are doing.
Thank you for listening to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers.
Yeah,
they
sure,
will help
indulge
you
on
look
some of
prosperous,
those fun
feel
holiday
prosperous,
treats.
and be prosperous.
But don't give up all your
you can
healthy
learn more
stuff,
about
because then
them
you're gonna
at
really feel like crap,
theimagedesigners.com or email Holly at hollyporter.com.
Especially after Thanksgiving, that turkey. Oh my gosh, what is that expression I hear people talk about? The turkey coma?
Oh, yeah, something like that, yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Inspiration for an
Turkey
Empowered
makes you
Life
sleepy.
podcast,
That's why you
sponsored by
have
the
the
Image
afternoon
Designers.
nap.
They will help you
That's
look
right.
prosperous,
I love that
feel
idea.
prosperous, and be prosperous. You can learn more about them at theimagedesigners.com or email Holly at hollyporter.com.
Well, how about just, if you can't get plenty of sleep, let's try to get the same amount of sleep that your body is accustomed to getting. How does that sound? Because I know many people might be listening to plenty of sleep, equating that to that 7 or 8 hours. And she says, you know what? I'm lucky I get 5 hours a night.
Like, I need my sleep, so I make sure I get it. Although I will say, here's another tip. This isn't one we were going to really share, but I just thought of it, and I think it's a great one. When I set a timer, like just in my kitchen, and say I just want to take whatever it is, 15 minutes, an hour, this is the project I need to get done. This is how long I have to do it. And I set that timer, man, I bust my butt to make sure I'm done when that timer goes off, because I don't want to not get it done. Right. And so that's been a good tip for me, that like, if you just, you have company, set it for 15 minutes and just spend 15 minutes doing everything that you can, that especially that people see when they come in, and you'll feel so much better because you'll be more productive.
I love it. And, when we're talking about don't abandon those healthy habits, we are really thinking about you, because the last thing that we want to hear on January 1st is, my New Year's resolution is to lose the 15 pounds that I gained over the holiday.
Yeah.
So we're just thinking of you, and the more you can stick to your regular habits without overindulging consistently, don't start a new habit of overindulgence. We're just really thinking of you for your New Year's resolution.
For sure.
What else do we have today? What else?
Oh.
All right, I have a good one. How about, again, I think this really works for the next 4 or 5 weeks, is stick to a budget. Yeah. Okay. And I am guilty of that one for many years because whether it be food shopping or present shopping, we've always had a tendency to go, "Oh, that looks good." And because I didn't make that list that I think we talked about last time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, planning ahead. Huh?
I think I'm just admit to this. What will happen is I'll shop a little here and shop a little there. And when it comes time for the holidays, one of two things happens. Either I have 2,000 times more stuff than what I intended to have, or I ended up leaving people out and I got too much over here, so if I had a budget and I had that list that we talked about last time,
Makes a difference. Yeah.
I think they kind of work together, but I've learned over all those years. But I think that's a great tip from my end. Okay. How about you?
Yeah. I love getting homemade gifts. Like, I just think that's special because a few years ago, I made a change that any gift I give anybody is going to be what I call gifts from the heart. And so it might cost money and it might not. It didn't matter. If my heart felt like giving it, I gave it. And if I didn't feel like giving somebody a gift, even if I felt like sometimes we feel like it's a requirement or whatever it is, I chose not to. I would just be like, you know what? I'm not feeling it. And I'm far from fake. So it's like, you know what? I just want to be able to give. And I also would take that throughout the year. If I would see something, one of my kids or somebody I knew, a friend would like, I would get it and just randomly give it to them because those are gifts of the heart. And so to me, it brought a lot more of the spiritual side of Christmas back for me because what I was giving, I knew came from my heart, whether, like I said, whether it cost money, a lot of money, little or none, it didn't matter. So I love doing that stuff.
I think that's a great idea. And I've been doing more of the gifts because I actually enjoy making things, and I had really gotten away from it for a while. And a couple of years ago, when things were very tight with the budget, it happens.
It happens.
I had come up with some craft ideas and collected my material. And when I gave them to the family, what was amazing to me is they were set up for the holidays. And when we go back for the following holidays, they brought them out for the decorations.
So, made you feel good.
Yeah, because I kind of felt like, oh, it's not much, but I thought it was pretty and I thought they were fun. I had fun doing it. So that's a really great tip, gifts from the heart. And you said something else I think is really important too, because a lot of people, I believe I have seen, feel obligated, obligated to give or do something when in fact, all it does internally is causes that stress, which is what we're trying to avoid over the holidays. So be cautious of feeling obligated to buy or do something, right?
Yeah. Well, and then how many gifts do you just get because someone just felt that obligation or they just gave it to you and it had no meaning behind it? It was just like, here. Yeah. That feels icky, and how many of us re-gift those, right? Sorry, we're all guilty, I'm sure, because seriously.
Yeah, so we're just thinking about you and your budget and all these little tips that we can do. And that just kind of goes along, again, we said it last week, but just learn to say no on some of these.
I love the gift exchange. Let's say that real quick. With friends, a group of friends or something you're in, draw names. I love that because really a lot of us during the year, if we need something, we're in that kind of a world nowadays where we just get it. We figure out a way to get it. I mean, especially the little things that we're getting mostly from people. And so if you draw names, like I know a lot of families, they're drawing names and they set a budget. Maybe it's $75 or $100, but they only have to buy one gift. So then you give them a list of 3 things that you'd really like to have. And then they still get a pick, but they know they're giving you something you like and there's value to it a little bit more so that it's something you didn't get 3 of them that year,
Oh, you know what I heard from, I don't know where I heard this from this woman. I thought it was a really great idea. She started when her kids were young. They got 3 gifts.
Yeah.
Something that you want, something that you need, and something to read.
Oh, read. And I would hear like a spiritual and was with that. They use like the the wise men's gift or something. I don't know. It was some kind of a Christian meaning because of
Yeah.
Christmas, but oh, I love that. Yeah.
I think just whatever fit works for you and your lifestyle and your family. But again, if you're giving gifts,
Yeah.
it ultimately is going to come down to some type of cost, whether it be pennies and nickels or $100 bills. So
Mhm.
again, to avoid the stress and the regret that often come during the holidays and come January, just again, set that budget and do your very, very best to stick to it. And I love that. Give the gifts from the heart. That's a great tip.
Yeah, it was, when I married my husband, we combined families. So we have 8 kids. And so early on, we decided on a budget for what we would spend on each of our kids. And there was a couple times we would just give them cash, but one year, my favorite thing, and my kids still talk about it, I was in Rotary International, and it's a service club. And we were doing wheelchairs overseas, and it cost $125 for a wheelchair. Like, how cheap is that, right? And my kids were only getting our budget was 200 kid, but we had 8 kids, right? And we do a family gift, but that was our budget. And they all gave, so I think we ended up just giving them all $75 that year, but they gave that 125 of their money and bought a wheelchair, and they got an ornament and a certificate and a picture of the person in the wheelchair. And they all remember that. That was like, that's again, gifts from the heart. But I love the fact that we didn't make any of my kids do it. We all gave them a choice, and they all chose that, which I was proud parent mom, And I just think, we just need to be creative in what we do and make it different. Don't always have to do the same thing.
I love those tips. The gifts from the heart. And when, that goes back to what we talked about last week, right? Just be of service.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful picture. I know years with my other business, one of the things that I enjoyed most, there was a senior facility, and they were oftentimes people who were neglected or left alone for the holiday. And we did fundraisers to create little packages for them. And we asked our customers to help donate the cost of the package, and made them all up. And then a few people were designated to drop them off. But just the love and the appreciation that they had for that acknowledgement. It was just a thing, right?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I think that's really what the holiday spirit is really supposed to be about.
It is.
Not really the receiving, it's the giving. But if you're going to give, try to keep it to a budget.
Yeah. Speaking of, okay, our next one is take a breather, like make some time for yourself. And we talked about this before, but we left it on this week's as well, because we all forget, that self-care, how important it is. And just taking, 15 minutes alone. And you talked about last week, just 5 or 10, just getting in a space where nobody's bothering you. I mean, as a mom, I remember little fingers being underneath the bathroom doors and saying, can I just go to the bathroom by myself, And just, I get it. I've been there. We all know how that is, but figure out when. If it's setting your alarm and getting up 20 minutes before everybody else in the day, whatever it is, so you can just sit quietly, whatever, maybe that's your Facebook time, whatever the self-care looks like for you, figure that out and do it.
Absolutely. I'm still a big fan, especially when you have little kids. Go lock yourself in a closet for 10 minutes.
And sometimes you're in there for other reasons, because one of them may not survive if you didn't.
It's, what makes me laugh right now is I can think back to being the young mom with, 3 kids under like 3.5 years. I mean, my kids were packed together, and that in itself is stressful. And then, you have blended families who now they have the young babies, and then they have the older ones. And man, ladies, if you don't take a little time for yourself, it's, we love you. We want you to take care of yourself, because it's, if you don't take care of yourself, who is? Okay. It's up to you.
We always say that with the oxygen mask, they say that when you get on the airplane, put it on you first, then you can help others. Because if you're not taking care of yourself first, you're not any good to anyone else.
That's right. And we want you to have a really good holiday. So yeah, we're sorry we're doubled up on that, but we're not sorry because that's really, really important.
And this goes for men, because if men pop on here and they're listening, like
Yeah.
you're hearing what we're saying mostly for women, but realize there's support. I mean, there's some single dads out there, but there's also men who need to give their mom, or their mom too, but their wives more support. They need to be there for them because we're in a world where mostly both parents are working nowadays, and you need to figure out how to divide and conquer and the best ways to make that happen so that everybody is on the same page.
That's absolutely, and that kind of makes me think about our other tip about reaching out, because for some people, it can be very lonely. You can feel very isolated, especially if you've had major things happen during the year. I know some people who have maybe gone through a divorce or death or just number of things that could have happened. And, going back to last week again, that, feeling of sadness. So if you're finding yourself not able to do those state changes or how to listen to some music and bring yourself into a better place, be sure to if you're married, communicate with your spouse. Let them know that you're really having a hard time. And that will be that cue for, like you just said, the husbands to maybe step up or the wives to step up. It doesn't really matter what the dynamics are, but it's really important to realize that if you're not in a good place, to recognize it and don't be afraid to reach out and ask for some help. It's okay.
Yeah, every year I get a little bit feel guilty because I am so blessed with a big family, as I said. So when we have Thanksgiving, I don't know if I've ever had one with less, at least on my side of the family. Scott's family is a lot smaller. But I don't think I've ever had one with less than like 35 to 70 people for Thanksgiving. It's almost too many when you get everyone together because you don't really get to enjoy it. It's just loud. So I always feel a little guilty though, because I'm, especially when I had my salon and spa, I had clients and I knew they were going to be alone, but I really didn't feel like I was in a place that I could invite them. Number one, it was so noisy and they were older, but I always felt like, oh, I'm so blessed, but I want to share them. There's so many. But this year I think there was only 9 of us in my kids. So I had 4 grandkids and 5 adults is all I had coming to my house next week. And when we're airing this will probably come right before. And so I thought of 3 different people. I invited 2 elderly couples that I knew would be alone. And I invited my girlfriend that has 2 adult boys, but her husband died about 1.5 years ago. So I invited all of them, and I'm excited because I feel like for the first time, this might be one of my favorite Thanksgivings because I'm serving people that I know would be alone any other time. And I'm excited.
Oh, that is great. And we had to do, because we're not going to be at home for Thanksgiving this year either. It's going to be just the 3 of us. And
you can come.
What's that?
You can come over too.
I wish you were closer. I was.
Right? How long's the flight?
We're used to a very large, not quite that large of a family for Thanksgiving, but pretty big gathering. And for us to just say it's going to be the 3 of us again was a very kind of that sad situation. So we had teamed up with a family that we met this year who lost this husband and the dad about 2 years ago, and they're fairly new in the area. So I'm kind of putting this out there to people because you might be somebody who just moved into a new area, like I still am. And if you can't get home, quote unquote, home for the holidays, who have you met and whose company do you enjoy being around that maybe you could tag team and create something together? Because again, it doesn't, remember those expectations we were talking about last week? It doesn't have to be as grand and it doesn't have to be as bad.
Yeah.
It's just different. And sometimes when you're in a new situation, to be flexible and make the best of it. So just, if you like the company, invite them over.
Right. Yeah. Because who wants to be alone? I mean, some people just don't have that choice. But if you do, if you're in control of that choice, make a better choice that you're going to find somebody and invite them. Okay. Our last tip of the day here is that this is a sensitive one, for for those of you who just can't seem to get out of it, you know, and you're just, that's the most depressing time. A lot of times, you know, people have lost loved ones during the holidays. In fact, I've always said that I've never seen so many people pass as I do during the holidays. Almost every year, I know somebody who passes away. And so to be sensitive, you know, for the ones that aren't experiencing that, be sensitive to those that are, and really be aware and bring them in to your fold. You know, maybe they're the ones that are going to be alone this year. And even if you know they have family, reach out to them, because I think, you know, nothing's worse than feeling alone, you know, and I think people need that. And so also, if you, you know, we had talked about, if you just need someone to talk to, there's nothing wrong with getting professional help. Like, that's what they're for. And if you need that, there's nothing wrong with it. And for those of you that are really, you know, maybe at a low, don't forget there's a suicide hotline, and those people care, and they're on the other end to help you. And I want to just say, you know, reach out. There's always someone who will listen to you, even when you feel like they won't.
Yeah, and you know, you're right, Holly. This is a very sensitive topic right here, but it is very important that we address this.
Yeah.
And on that note, I just want to caution, if you are finding yourself just in a bad place, you might say to yourself, oh, well, I can vent to my friend, or I can vent to this person. Use caution when you're venting with somebody, because if they are also in a negative place, it's just gonna what's the word I'm looking for? Help me
You
out.
feed off each other. You feed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna make it bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not going to really benefit you at all. So I just want to say, be cautious who you vent to if you're having a hard time. If you need to vent to somebody, I'm just going to encourage you to find the most positive person that you know. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily so they could go, oh, it's okay, because you might be truly dealing with something truly justifiably
Right.
bad. So it's not to say everything's going to be okay and just forget it, but to be able to get that off of your chest. And like you said, if there's nothing wrong with reaching out for help, because again, if you can't take care of you, that's who you need to take care of. Oxygen mask first. And we've said it again and again.
Yeah. And another thing that came up for me that when you were talking was, you know, a lot of times our kids come to us as the parents with their challenges with their new spouse or old spouse, whatever it may be. And, you know, as parents, we want to protect our own and we want to take care of them. My advice is find a friend or a professional if you want to go to with that information. I would stay away from telling your parents things that, I mean, important things, yes, but like if there's a big fight, or there's, you know, whatever it is that's not a positive thing, you got to remember you're their child and they want to protect you. And so let's be careful about what we say, because if you're going to get divorced and all of a sudden you're not, you've just told them all this stuff, and it's really hard for parents to set aside, because we always want to protect our children. So I'm just being sensitive that way. That's some advice I would give, for sure.
That's a good point. That's a great point, because again, we're talking about how to stay stress-free for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to add any stress on anybody's plate that we absolutely have to. And you know, I think for the most part, we have really touched on our new tips. We've kind of retouched on some of our tips from last week, and we want to really retouch on a few things that we covered for to wrap it up. Like, keep it simple. All right.
Have fun.
Keep it simple. Have some fun. Hey, and I just want to add one more thing on this one. Have a sense of okay, you said this before, energy. What is the energy?
Energy flows where energy goes.
There you go.
Energy goes where energy flows.
I don't know why I can't get this one right.
Yeah.
You know, it's also about the law of attraction. And I know everybody's heard about the law of attraction, but you know what? Here's the missing piece. And this is so perfect for this time of year. As you're moving forward from now until the new year, and actually every day, I recommend this. When we talk about being in a moment of in that peaceful place, you know, taking time for yourself, take a moment and reflect on what you're grateful for. Okay. Because no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, what you have done, what you haven't done, it doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter that you are able to listen to this means you're breathing. And guess what? That if you have nothing else to be grateful for in life, the fact that you are living and breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you know what? Your list can only build from there. So if you can just take a moment every day, and that will allow that to, that will come into you, and it will help to expand who you are. And it's just going to bring more of that positive, happy stuff that we're talking about. And it's going to reduce the stressed out, freaked out, and overwhelmed stuff that happens, which is why we're sharing these tips with you. What have you got for me, Holly?
I love that. I think what we focus on is what happens. And so focus on the good, focus on the joys that you want to see. If you focus on the negatives, that's what you're going to get more of. If you focus on the positives, that's what you'll get more of. So my thing is just, be proactive in making the memories that you want to keep.
That's a great idea. Be proactive in making the memories, make them memorable, but the way that you want to be able to look back on them, right?
Yeah. Well, make the memories that you want to talk about in a year or 2 or 5 years or 20 years, whatever. Make sure those memories are counting every moment.
Yeah. The ones that make you happy, right? We don't want to create
Yes.
memories that, man, can you remember that fight back on that Thanksgiving? That's not something we want to remember.
No.
We want to remember the wheelchair, right? We want to remember the giving and making a difference, making people happy. We want to remember that we were happy, fulfilled, right? Joyful.
Yeah. Joyful,
So
definitely.
these are all the things for the holiday season. So, I'm so excited I'm so happy that you were co-hosting with me the last 2 episodes.
Oh, me too.
Thank you for your energy and your smile and your tips, because, together we're just making the world a better place.
Oh, yes, we are. Thank you so much, Rhonda.
All right, everybody, we'll see you next week. Take care.